welcome to the Sexy Business Status Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Payne, with my beautiful, lovely wife of 12 years, Miss Heidi Sue.
Hello.
And I don't know, my gut just told me, I try and do, at least once a month, do just like a whole day of podcast. Come in, knock them out, line them all up, all that stuff. And I was talking to Cash about, my 10-year-old was talking about wanting to get more subscribers on his YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel, he has like 35 subscribers, and his buddy has 35, so he's like, I gotta get more. He's like, Dad, how do I get more? He's like, how many are on your Instagram page? And I'm like, 15, 16,000. He's like, holy cow, how do you do that? And I'm like, bro, you gotta put out a lot of content, like, you need to be funny, you be entertaining, you gotta add value, all the things, right? And so I was like, dude, come on the podcast. And I've never thought about bringing the kids on the podcast.
Yeah.
And
Well, because they're all wild cards.
Yeah, that's the
You never
best
know what
part.
you're gonna get.
That is the best content, though. The best content is the wild card content. That's what, like, yeah. Oh, so I did Cash. Cash is much more like Heidi.
Yes.
Very
Quite
calm,
reserved.
very chill, very collected, very poised. Oakley is none of those things.
Sure.
He's my kid, and he's like, "What's up, guys? F you!" Like that's literally what Oakley. I'm surprised he didn't do it, but I brought him on for like 5 or 7 minutes, and he killed it. It was so good. He actually made me cry. It was good. So I need to do a better job at bringing in Heidi because I get the most views, the most likes, the most engagement, the most everything because
I'm awesome.
Because you're awesome, and because you're the no bullshit person, right? And you'll tell people how it is. And
Blessing and a curse.
them as in me.
I just think people can relate though.
Yes.
Good, bad, or otherwise.
You're very relatable, and you're willing to tell people like what's really going down. That's why I gravitate a lot towards Garrett White and Danielle because they're a little extreme with certain things, but they're much more raw and open and vulnerable as a couple than probably anybody else that I've ever listened to or followed. But that's what I love too. And like I said, I've done multiple events, multiple dinners. And whenever Heidi speaks, I'm like, hey, what's your biggest takeaway? And they're like, freaking your wife. I'm like, why did I pay Ed Milet $70,000? I should have my freaking wife speak. Kidding, but also not kidding. So
Kidding, but also let's not go back there.
Yeah, let's not go back to those days. So those that are listening, right? Married, 5 kids, a lot of stuff going on, and It's a roller coaster, man. Like being a business owner and as a couple individually, however that works, whether your wife works in the business or is a stay-at-home mom, like it's still a part of the business. It's just a different role. Yeah. But like, what would be your biggest takeaway? We're 5.5 years in, doing 8 figures a year. You see how I've changed the last 12 years, but especially the last starting the business 5 years ago, but especially the last like 2 years since we got rid of some bad baggage and whatnot. Like, what has been your biggest takeaway for those that are listening, whether they have their spouse listen to it, or if they're the business owner of like, hey, if you're the husband and you're the provider and you're the business owner, like here are a couple of things not to do, or a couple of mistakes not to make, or your wife really wants this from you. What nugget could you drop on them right now?
That was a lot of different questions at once. I think that, so maybe it was a personality fault, but I used to be super, like I wanted to be able to control so much of what was going on, and I feel like...
In what regard?
Well, just in my life, right? So like growing up with divorced parents, there wasn't a whole lot that I had control of. And so like once I started working full-time and going to school and I kind of had more control of my life, I wanted to be able to... I mean, you say control the controllables, but like, you remember when we first got married and you'd like just come home and be like, hey, I want to do this. And I was like, whoa, no, like we need time. And even with kids, I was very type A in the beginning. And I think looking back now at the first 5 years of this business, me being able to be more flexible and kind of roll with what comes at me, I think that's one way that I personally have evolved, but it's also come because you communicate better, and I'm not finding out after the fact and having to just be fine with it. It's almost like hey, this is what I want to do and I want to do it soon. Can you get on board or tell me why you can't?
How important is that I go back to Garrett and Danielle's post just from the other day. They said, sex is so much better when foreplay is based off of truth. Like when there's trust there, there's connection there, right? And going on that, like how important is it to make sure that you are, like I said, you're telling the truth up front. You're like I said, you're not telling them after the fact. You're being upfront about it. Like, how important is that for the husband or the spouse, the business owner, communicating to their spouse those things in order to make moves fast? Because in business, I make moves fast on purpose because that's money loves speed. And some people were brought that way, raised that way, taught that way. Corporate America doesn't teach that at all whatsoever, right? Even chain type stuff. But like, how you've seen that work in our favor, but it was definitely something that we had to overcome together.
Right.
What did that look like?
Well, and I think that you go into marriage assuming that it is a partnership, right? Like we're doing it together. And so when you have this business on the side that, yes, I chose not to be in the day-to-day, but every move you make in that business still affects my life to some degree, right? Sure. If you take on another project that takes you away from the home, that affects my life. Like things like that. And so I feel like for a little bit with us, you were making moves assuming that it didn't affect me or wouldn't bother me. But I think when we got to the mutual understanding that it's respectful to inform your wife, it's not you asking for permission. And I feel like that's where a lot of people get caught up is some guys have this like ego thing where they're like, I don't have to ask my wife permission. And it's not about that. But I can promise if you want your wife to be on board, showing her that you respect her enough to at least let her know. Like, I can't even tell you how hurtful it was the handful of times that I found out about business moves on Instagram. And I'm like, what the heck? And really, I take it personal. Like, what did I do to not deserve to be in that circle? Or what got me kicked out of that circle?
Or get a phone call or a text message or a face-to-face.
Or finding out from a friend, and I'm like, what in the heck? And like, even there have been a couple of times where I've gotten a quick text like, hey, by the way, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and you might see it on Instagram. Like, even that is better than, oh, we're launching this whole other branch of our business, and you're finding out on an Instagram post. And it's like, I know exactly
what you're talking about. I know exactly where I was sitting at the restaurant in downtown Gilbert.
And talk about feeling like you don't matter and you're not important. If you ever want your wife to believe those things, make moves like that. Because again, like, you want me to support you, but you don't think that I'm important enough to be informed. And again, not asking permission. Yeah. I don't want to be responsible for some of the moves you have to make. I really don't. But I would like to know about them. And I don't think that's a big ask. I really don't. And I think it's taken a while for us to get there. But I think also, going back to your first question, that ability to evolve as the business evolves. Mm-hmm. Because there's things that, like, when I have really small babies at home, my needs are different than right now where they're all pretty self-sufficient. Like, you coming home an hour or two later isn't that big of a deal. Whereas when I had, 4 under, or whatever we had when Oakley was what, 5 months old when you started the business? Like, that was different because he was a hard baby. Mm-hmm. And I was completely done. And what was really hard about that is some of the times...
And you had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yes, but some of the time when you were working, you were in our 3rd-car garage and we could hear you because our toy room butted up to that 3rd-car garage.
Yep.
And so the kids knew you were there and I'm sitting there trying to keep them like, no, Dad's not done working yet. And that was really hard too because you were Oakley's favorite person. Sure. I mean, I have videos every time he'd go to work, he'd just bawl his eyes out, Dad, come back. Don't leave. Yeah. Which was hard. But I think that as the needs of the family change and things like that, being able to come back to those conversations of like, hey, Heidi, what do you need in this? Or how does moving forward with this move look for you? Like, It's going to be constantly evolving. And I think if you can keep that open and keep it not like you had it once so you don't have to have it again. Doing regular check-ins is maybe the best way to put that, of like, hey, this is where our business is going, or hey, now that the kids are in school more often,
how often, I know each couple will be different, but how often do you feel, at least with our marriage and our business situation, how often should a business related check-in like what's realistic and fair? Is it once a day? Is it once a week? Once a month? Once a quarter? Once a year? Like what does that look like?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like for us, if a big move's getting made, it just depends on when those moves are happening, right?
Well, some things you find out, we gotta respond like.
Right. But like,
Fast.
I mean, overall, like how involved do you want to be or what do you want to do? I mean, once a quarter, twice a year, I think it just depends on how rapidly.
You're saying the role that you play in the business.
Yeah.
If you want to take on more of a role.
Right.
I'm talking about like, hey, this is kind of where we're at. This is where cash flow is at. This is where like buying trucks, buying trailers, buying studios or offices, those type of things. My gut tells me like on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair? Well, yeah, and I think all
and
the
this
big
is like a
things,
3-hour sit down.
No, but all the big things too. I mean,
give me a good example and give them a bad example. I know you have plenty of bads. Give me at least one good. Give them at least one good one. Come on.
No, I think you've done a lot better with informing me, like letting me know about trucks. That was a big thorn in the side for a really long time because you would buy trucks and trailers and I would find out after the fact. Keep in mind, while we had other debt that we were trying to pay off,
Sure.
that's where you were spending money. And for me, my brain was like, wait, I want this one. So our goals were different. And so again, being the wife that doesn't necessarily make the money or control the finances, I feel like we weren't necessarily on a team as far as I need to buy a truck, but I will pay X towards this debt first, and then, you know what I mean? It was like, no, I need this, and all of it was going towards your stuff over and over and over again, but it was going without you telling me, because I think you knew what I would have said, or I would have slowed you down, or I would have stopped you, and you didn't want that. And so, I mean, now I at least get a text message or like a, hey, we need X, X, Y, or Z in the business, and I need to make this move quick. Do you have any? And that's the other thing that I think that I appreciate a lot is you ask, do you have any reason not to? Like, you at least give me that courtesy, yes, of, like, is my gut saying anything that maybe yours isn't? And 9 times out of 10, I feel like I don't have any pushback on it.
And same thing with hiring people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I give you the opportunity to be in the interviews. If you don't show up, you don't have a vote.
Right.
And that's kind of something we agreed on. Like, if I tell you when the interview is and you can come and you want to be there, whether it's a male or a female, you want to come and want to be there, cool, not a problem. And sometimes you're like, hey, I want to be at this one or this or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because before I was like, oh, you hired this person, It's like,
yes.
Bro, like, that was a red flag. The second I sat down in front of that chick or that dude, I knew it was a red flag. And if you would have been there, I'd be like, no.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's nice to look back and know that one of us learned something from that. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way, and that's okay too. Yeah,
so just so you guys know, I go to therapy every single week. Heidi joins me most of the time or half the time. And something that I want to touch base here as part of this episode is check-ins and emotional connection, right? So this isn't really business direct related, but definitely marriage related. And what I realize is that I come home working 8, 10, 12 hours, be like freaking exhausted. She'd be dealing with the kids all day, freaking exhausted. And you always do the stereotypical, how are you text, right? Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, oh, she's just doing it to like, maybe she's bored, maybe to start a conversation, maybe she's trying to dig or pry about something, I don't know. And you do it randomly throughout the day, sometimes you don't. But when I come home, like, hey, how's your day? And stereotypical, like, good, bad, sucked, hot, got sued, made a lot of, sold the roof, didn't sell the roof, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Everything between.
Right.
Literally everything.
All those things have happened.
All those things. But instead of saying, like, how are you? Like, tell me about your day. Right? So that's something that's really helped both of us, is really sitting down and giving each other even just 5 minutes of like, hey, how was your day? Was it good? Was it bad? Another trick that I learned I'm starting to use, and it's helping a lot too, is I didn't even know where you're at. So when I come home, like, I can't assume that you're at a 10, right? Or that you're at a 4. If you're at a 4 and I want to do something that's at 8, right? That could be going somewhere, or doing something, right? Maybe it's getting intimate, something along those lines, right? And you're a 4, Gilbert High Math, you're the ASU graduate, not me, right? That's bad math, right? So probably not the best time to try and entertain X or Y or Z.
Right.
But every day, but we can't cry wolf either, be like, oh, I'm a 4, I'm a 2, I'm a 0, or whatever, right? But checking in like, hey, where are you at on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being like, you want to crawl home and die, and 10 being like, dude, like, I am killing it.
Let's go
like,
do something.
yeah, like, let's go do something crazy, let's go have sex, like it's great, like let's go conquer the world, let's go, woo! And everywhere in between, right? So 0 to 10, like checking in that way too, apart from like, how was your day, have been really, really helpful. But I guess the most important thing, those 2 things leading into the most important one is emotional connection. And I don't think we talked about this on the podcast yet, is emotional connection. I literally didn't know what it was. I'd ask my therapist or counselor or however you call her, I'd ask her what it was, and I was like, hey, what is this thing called emotional connection? Because I was there, because Heidi was like, hey, I want you to make folding laundry with me, or just you taking initiative, I want you to make it a priority. And to each their own, we don't think that's stupid or whatever, like that's our agreement as a couple, as a partnership. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll start making that a priority, and I'll start doing that, or doing it a little bit more, being a little bit more intentional doing it. And then like the dishes, like, hey, well, how about the dishes, or taking out the trash, or little just chores around the house, right? And I would do those, and then, bedtime would come around, and I would want to initiate intimacy or connection or something like that, and I'm not getting it. And I'm like, dude, what am I doing wrong? And when I realized, the dishes don't have emotion attached to them. So like, you fold the dishes, I'm sure the dish says, thank you for washing me and putting me away. Great. Load the dishes. You load the dishes. Yeah.
It sounded like you said fold the dishes.
Oh, fold. You fold the dishes, you load the laundry. No. But doing those type of things, like those are all things, like a checklist of things to do that need to get done, that I'm willing to help out with. But none of those things involve me saying, hey Heidi, how are you doing? Yeah. How's Heidi and how is Heidi's soul doing? How is her heart doing? How is her, right? And that's the emotional connection that I missed out on for, dare I say, the first 10 years of our marriage. Not to an extreme, because I think we wouldn't be married or we'd be divorced already, but I without having hard conversations, right? Bathtub will change your marriage, without having those hard conversations, right? I didn't know what you meant. I'm like, dude, I literally I'm doing the laundry, I'm folding the dishes, I'm taking out the trash, I'm helping you with this, helping the kids at bedtime and baths and chicken nuggets and dinner and all those things. And then I'm like, I'm still not getting a connection from you that I want. I'm not entitled to, that I want, that I desire, that I call it expect. But I'm not, we're not on the same level. And I was getting freaking pissed. And it took a hard conversation for you to be like, well, thank you for taking out the trash, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, helping out with the house, helping with the kids down, yada yada. I was like, first of all, you live here, so you should be helping out, number one. Second of all, they're your kids just as much as they're my kids. And I said, okay, that's fair, right? And so I checked my ego. But then one of the biggest takeaways was, you're like, you didn't check on me at all today. You didn't ask me how my day was. You didn't ask me how I'm doing. And I didn't check in with Heidi and her heart and her soul. I checked in on the house and the house type of things, or the kids. I've done this even recently. I would play with the kids for hours, plural. Weekends, weekdays, hours. Basketball, baseball, swimming, card games, And I'm like, bro, getting mega dad points here, right? But there's a difference between getting dad points and getting husband points, right? And I'm like, oh, I did all those things. Well, yeah, that filled the kids box or kids cup. But once again, I didn't. And then I was like, dude, you want me to spend more quality time with the kids? I'm doing that. And where's the connection? Where's the connection? And I'm like, oh, Heidi has a cup. It's you have a cup for certain things, right? Finances, spiritual, mental, all those things. And then each person that you love, you have a cup, and how much you do or do not put into that cup. And it took me a long time to realize oh, I'm actually not emotionally checking in with my spouse. And a quick 30 seconds when you get home does not count, right, in my opinion, right? And so that's something that's been super huge to me, is like really spending time in the evening once the kids go down and be like, hey, how are you, not to try to initiate intimacy or anything, or any sort of connection, just really just trying to be like, hey, like, give me a shit.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not something that I'm going to fix, right? Even if like you tell me what's wrong, I can't fix 90% of it anyways, right? But checking in emotionally and being an emotionally supportive spouse is something I've worked my ass off the last like 6 to 12 months, and it's really starting to pay off, but I didn't know what it was for the longest time. So hopefully those of you listening, especially you men, like pay attention to it. It's a real thing. But like going home and bringing home the bacon is not emotional connection. That is you doing your job as a provider for the family. That is your job. That's still not emotional connection with your spouse.
Can I have a comment for that?
Sure.
So,
I hope you have more than one.
For the men, I mean, and if I feel like, I don't know if this will be a good way to relate it, but as a business owner, you have mental load that you carry all the time, right? What are some things as a business owner that are on your brain all the time?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Or is there-
Yeah.
Oh,
just give me a couple
dude.
examples.
Cash flow, paying the bills, paying all the random projects. We have like termites at our house right now. Like, just a bunch of random, all those things. Making sure that I'm doing all. You're talking about business or in general?
Business.
Or is it that?
Just business.
Business, dude. Like, where are we gonna get our next roof from? The phone's not ringing. It's not fucking raining. Like, for a year and a half it didn't rain. I'm like, oh my gosh. Those type of things are heavy because we still have guaranteed bills, and we have this office, and we have all these things that we have people expecting a paycheck on Friday. When they wake up at 12:01 a.m., there's a bing to their phone that they got a direct deposit.
Yeah.
That is very heavy. The growth of the company, the overall, where's the company going? Is this person toxic? Do we need to hire more people? Do we need to hire more trailers? I can go on forever. Do we need to get more trucks? All those things.
So throughout your day, do you have people that you talk to about some of those things? Maybe not all of them.
Some of them
day.
I do not bring up because it is not none of their business, but talking to them would not solve my problem.
Correct.
I'm talking about the wrong person.
Right.
But
to vent it off or to let it go or to just have somebody talk.
I'll give you an example. Whether it was, when Diego was here doing production, but now Shannon, like being able to vent to Shannon about like some production stuff going on. Obviously the financial stuff, that's Dory's sole role, for lack of better words, doing that. Stuff with Jess, right, for personal assistant, like, keep all the plates. You see the little circus guys, all the plates going. Having Jess help me like go those, and so there's a few people I can bounce stuff off of for sure.
Okay. So now, if you look at your wife,
and they're all over 18 years old. I know where she's going with this.
So if you look at your wife, if you look at your home and your family as the business that your wife runs. Okay, if your wife also works, that puts two businesses, maybe not an owner, maybe just a job, which I get is different because I also have a job that I don't have to take home. But still, that's, if I look at my house and my family as my business that I'm running, and I am in the grind the day to day, I'm thinking about doctor's appointments, school's coming up, all my kids, are they enrolled? Do they have everything they need to go to school? Summer camps, are they signed up? Where do they need to go? I have to drive everybody 9 times out of 10 during the summer because you work during the day. Totally get it. So do I have that all scheduled out, mapped out? Those are all things that are on my plate all the time.
I hate not having a stocked fridge. It drives me nuts.
Yes, and when we run out of something, you're like, well, do we have more? Right? Like, I have to have that in my brain, that knowledge all the time.
Sure.
And that's what I carry. And who do I get to offload that to?
A
10-year-old, am I
a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old.
Right, and so I think when you look at it that way of like, I want to, and to a safe person, right? Because I don't want to just go verbal vomit my frustrations about my kids, because my kids are awesome, and sometimes when you vent about it, you get some really harsh criticism, and it's not that I don't love my kids, it's just that day was hard, and it's okay to have hard days. And so to be able to offload that to somebody that I know, one, isn't judging how my day went, one that I know is going to love me regardless of how my day went, like that matters, and that is important, and I want to be able to talk about my day, good, bad, or otherwise, with somebody and have you listen. And your sister just brought it up, but a cool thing that you've been doing sometimes when I talk is, do you want a solution or do you just want me to listen? Because sometimes I don't want your solution, and even if you give me one, I'm not going to listen to it anyways, because I already know how it's playing out in my head. However, sometimes I just want to offload, like I just want to get it off my chest. And for me, especially my personality type, we've talked about this multiple times, I'm an overthinker. So I replay scenarios over and over and over again, and sometimes I just have to say it out loud. Like even if I can't do anything about it, I can't change it, I can't make it better, whatever, like I just want to say it out loud and talk through it. And I think that's a huge thing, because if I can lighten my mental load, it allows me to show up differently in other places.
So pay attention to what she said, you can write it down, do you want me to listen to, like, you want me to hear you to listen to you and be like a sounding board? Or do you want me to listen to, like, respond, meaning solve this problem?
Right.
And you have to ask that because Phil Dunphy in Modern Family is by far the best example of it, but you watch the episode later, Google it. But the thing that comes to me is men are problem solvers. Like, we have a problem, go fix, light bulb's out, go replace the light bulb.
Right.
Instead of like, hey, the light bulb's out, like, I'm just letting you know. It's like, no, go fix the light bulb. Right? Guys, that's our natural instinct, is to fix things.
Women sometimes are like, yeah, I want to replace it, but I don't know if I want this bulb or if I want to change it to the super bright obnoxious
Bro,
lights
whatever
like
one's in
you
the
like.
freaking pantry, we're doing that shit and put it in
Right.
5 seconds later. Like,
But I
move
feel
on
like
to the next
that's
thing.
kind of how women are, is like they kind of want to think things through or see all the scenarios sometimes versus no, let's just
Or
freaking
you're
fix
not even fixated on the light bulb that's out. You're like, I want to remodel this, and that freaking light won't even be there, right? I want to push this wall out or move this or put barn doors, whatever. The thing, so it's kind of funny in the sales cycle in roofing and just general sales. That's kind of where that came from. And one just, with a spouse, and the listening part is when we get an objection, when we get a comment from a homeowner or from a customer, is it an objection or is it a complaint? The objection being like, I will not transact with you and sign the contract or do the deal with you until you answer my problem, solve my problem. Why are you guys not tied off? Why are they wearing different colored shirts? Why are they Guatemalan instead of white? Why are they whatever? And the other one is a complaint, like, oh, hey, like, yeah, you're really expensive. Is that an objection? Or is that a complaint? Like, oh, yeah, I completely agree we're expensive. We're also the best in the state of Arizona. And move on. It was a statement of, like, they're just complaining that they don't want to spend 20 grand. I don't want to spend 20 grand on a roof either, right? Or 33,000 on freaking AC units.
I knew you were going to bring it up.
But guess what? but we do.
Right.
And we need to, and it is what it is, but like, man, it's expensive. But we think of that as like an objection. Oh, I'm sorry, it's too expensive. Hey, we'll do it for 25. It's like, no, I was still willing to pay the 33, but like.
Help me understand why.
Yeah, but like, and a lot of times we're just complaining.
Yeah.
Right? And call it venting. Change it, phrase it however you want, but you're doing all these things, right? And so that's what it comes down to. Like, are you listening to respond and fix the problem, or are you listening just because she's been hanging around 2 to 10-year-olds all day and wants to talk to somebody over 18 that actually like is not going to sit on them or pee on them or whatever. So that being said, to wrap up here, what would you say has been the two-part question? What has been the best thing about owning a big established business as a spouse? And what has been the hardest thing about owning a big established business? Reason why is because I was Googling the other day, ChatGPT in it, is the average company, 96% of all small businesses are out of business year 5. 96%. That's 9.5 out of 10. That's a lot. And they don't do more than $3 million in revenue. And we passed the 5-year and we passed the $3 million in revenue, right? So that because some people just like my dad, right? Like my uncle, they stayed in that $2 to $3 million bubble for 40 years, right? And now they're boomers and they're retiring or whatever. What has been the best blessing and awesomeness part about it, and what has been the shittiest part? Because you're gonna get both.
Yeah. I think it's been nice. I guess my answers kind of go together. It's been nice to be able to control your schedule the way that you have. I mean, we've got friends whose husbands only get 2 weeks vacation, and they're 9 to 5s or 8 to 5s or whatever, and then they only get 2 weeks vacation. And for us, I feel like you're able to maneuver around that, and we can do things like when something random comes up, or even if I want to go somewhere and you're able to hold down the fort a little bit more at home so that I can go because your schedule is flexible. I do like that. I think the crappy part is when things get crazy, or you're down people, or it gets chaotic, like you are in charge of the ship, whether it's sinking or sailing. And so I think when we started the business, you kind of pitched it as, I'm going to need to grind for the first 2 to 5, 2 to 4 years. And then after that, we'll be established in smooth sailing. And true or false though?
Yeah.
Yeah, you totally pitched it as that. Which it's hard because you don't know what's going to come down the pipeline, and things happen, and it does get crazy and chaotic. And there are times, where you have to jump back into roles that you had people for, and that part does kind of suck because it's like, oh, okay, now we're backtracking, which is it's hard for me because I'm like, we worked so hard to get to a place where you're helping more and this and that, and now we're back to like, hey, I'm coming home late, and
leaving early, Saturday,
yes.
Saturday, some Sundays.
And I think you and I communicating a lot better has allowed that to be a more graceful process in this season of that versus before, when I would just get so mad because in my brain I'm like, oh, we're going backwards and we're going to stay backwards.
So I want you to pay attention. Thank you for those words, by the way. I think that the biggest takeaway I get from what you just said is 2 things. One, it's a season, right? Yeah. And sometimes and by the way, in business, heaven forbid you go backwards.
Right.
Tesla's never gone backwards? You're full of shit. Like, they do. It might not be publicized, not brought up, but if you do have to retract or go backwards, don't let it be a permanent reverse in Sharpie and permanent marker and stay there. It is a season.
Right.
Where you put it in reverse, then you put it in neutral, then you put it in drive, and you go back to where you want to be. When I have done those, I didn't go to those because I didn't want to hire somebody, or I didn't want to do this or do that. It was a tight spot financially. Like I said, people leaving or people being fired, and you got to fill those roles.
Right.
Some roles you can fill it next day, boom, got it, see you later, bye, and the company doesn't blink.
Right.
Other ones, that person leaves, and it stings a little bit. But like I said, having that open line of communication where I'm like, hey babe, like we've been good for a while. This happened. Here's the cause and the effect. Right. At the end of the day, like I said, we are in charge of this boat. If it sinks and burns, it sinks and burns, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like the Titanic.
Down together.
Sometimes it feels like the Titanic before it hits the iceberg.
Yeah.
And it's great, it's beautiful, and the champagne and Leonardo DiCaprio and everything, and it's great and wonderful, hot and sexy and great. And then you hit the iceberg and you're like, holy shit, we're all gonna die, right? And that happens. That's literally I don't say a weekly basis, but probably a monthly basis. Part of it being is don't be scared to not retract, but don't be scared to do what you need to do for a season, as long as you know that you're not staying there and your spouse knows you're not staying there.
Yeah.
Because going backwards and staying backwards is scary, because I don't want to go, we've gone this far and now we're here. We did this to be here, right, not to stay here forever.
Well, and we've been back there and it wasn't good for either of us, and we didn't do well there.
100%.
So I think it's worrisome, for me as a spouse, when we start to get close to that, because I'm like, I did not thrive here. Here
Sure.
was really hard for me.
Right.
So that reassurance of, no, it's just for a hot minute. This is when I think we'll move forward.
Yeah,
we'll be out of it.
It might be a few days, it might be a few weeks, it might be a few months.
But be realistic about it too. Don't be like it's going to be for a week and you're going on a month, 2 months, 3 months, and your wife's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
That's not fair either.
But having a lot of communication, hey, I think this is going to take 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks to overcome. It might not, and we'll reevaluate in 2 to 4 weeks.
Right.
But if you know it's going to be 3 months, don't freaking tell them 2 to 4 weeks and then keep pushing it back and back and back and back and back. It's or I've told you before, I have no idea when the shit's going to get fixed. But I was like, but what I do know is that I have us, I support us, I'm all in on us, and whatever that looks like, we'll figure it out, make it happen. And as soon as I don't want to be in this position any more than you don't want to support me
Right.
in this position, in the situation that we're in. So, like I said, having that open line of communication is huge and awesome, and yeah, it's really good. So yeah, going back to, like I said, be available for your spouse, connect with them, check in, and like I said, whatever you're doing, whatever moves you're making, be openly communicative about it on both sides. Be supportive on them on both sides, as long as you are both. I think like the New York Yankees and the pinstripe jerseys, like we are on the same team.
Yeah.
We have the same team, same jerseys, same team name in the front, just a different number on the back. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And when you truly understand that, like, life gets way easier. So,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on.
You betcha.
I love you.
Love you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Peace out.